Guys, welcome back to my channel. It is me, Shawnee, and this is Conspiracy and Chill. Today I'm going to be talking about American Horror Story double feature, Death Valley, episode 9, which is leading us sadly closer to the end of this season. We have one more episode to go, and I'm not going to lie to you guys, I'm a little sad. As you guys can see, my look is a little inspired by the aliens. You know, I wanted to do the half human, half alien look because obviously we've seen with our head alien in charge Theta that she has that look going. And, I tried to do a little bit of something. Let me know how you guys feel about this look. If you care about the makeup looks, I usually, try to get a little snazzy for the reviews and such. But yeah, we only have one more episode and I don't know how I feel about that. But before we get into the actual review, make sure you guys are subscribed. If you're not subscribed, you won't know every time I post. And make sure you turn on that notification bell so you know the moment I post. All right, let's get into the review. So the review starts out... excuse me, the episode starts out in 1954. Eisenhower and his right hands are discussing the treaty that they are going to be signing with the aliens. And of course, we have the head alien who we don't have a name for, if I'm not mistaken. And she is still possessing the body of Mamie Eisenhower. And they're trying to force Eisenhower to sign the treaty, but he's against it because he doesn't want to betray the American people. He feels like it would be tyranny. Well, not tyranny. He doesn't want to be a traitor to the American people. And the alien basically is like, if you don't sign this piece of paper, we're going to kill your wife. And they also call her insipid, which I thought was kind of funny because throughout the episodes, we see Mamie, bragging about how much of an influence she is in the White House and how much like she has influenced the American people with her things that she does. And they basically said, your wife is boring. She's trash. Like she's not all that. And it was kind of ironic to me, like I said. And basically the head alien tells Eisenhower, we need you to sign this because if you go against us, we're going to tell the American people that this was all you. And he's like, you're blackmailing me. And they're like, yeah. So if you renege on this deal, we're going to tell the American people that you're a piece of shit. So eventually, the alien breaks out of Mamie's body and she starts talking about, oh, you all came to my birthday party because obviously her brain is, not together. So 3 years later, Eisenhower and his men are watching footage of some houses that have been under surveillance and in Topeka, Kansas, where there have been 3 abductions and each house reported a missing person. As they're watching this on the TV, there's like a storm, everything goes weird, haywire, all the technology, and in comes our Cody Fern playing Valiant Thor. So one thing I did notice as they are watching these, we kept having these like zoom ins of pictures of his dead son, which I mentioned in one of my theory videos. I had a theory about his dead son possibly being Valiant Thor, but something that happens later in the episode kind of eliminated that theory for me because, something that happens with Mamie. But if you guys remember back in the first episode when they first saw the alien monster attack the men, the doctor's doing the autopsy. Did one of my beads fall? This is what happens when you do makeup look and you talk too much. But he kept holding the picture of his dead son. And in the second episode, the head alien basically is like, don't make us take someone else that you love, meaning Mamie. And I still feel like his son may have been abducted by aliens. Now, I know in real life, Eisenhower's son died from scarlet fever as a 3-year-old, I think. He was super young. But I'm wondering if we're going to get a plot twist in the show where he is an alien. Like I said, at first I thought he would be Valiant Thor, but I don't really think he is now. He could be one of the other aliens. I don't know. I just feel like the emphasis that they keep putting on the picture of his child being missing every time they talk about missing people and abductions is just interesting. So I'm keeping that in mind. Also, during that scene, we see them focusing on the bust of Julius Caesar, and we all know what happened to Julius Caesar. He was betrayed, so I took that as there will be some betrayal later in the episode. Now, I'm not completely sure what the betrayal is. I know later in the episode there is a betrayal of sorts, but I don't know if that's what's being hinted at or if there's more to come, but I guess we will see. So after this, as they're talking, they basically uncover that they haven't heard from the aliens in 3 years. Mind you, 1954 is when they signed the treaty. So this is around 1957. And it was at that moment that the aliens Valiant Thor came back and he basically brings them a cell phone. He's like, this has more, computing power than the big computer that takes up a whole room in IBM. And obviously they don't believe it, but, interesting. Very interesting. And that's how we got, cell phone technology from the aliens. So we come back to Mamie decorating for Halloween. And Ike is basically telling her like how worried he is about, the aliens and everything that's going on. And he's reading a newspaper about the abduction of a little girl named Caroline Gibbons. I kind of wonder if she could be Calico. I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't think so, but at one point I did kind of wonder, could she possibly be Calico as an adult? I don't know, but she was one of the kids, one of the people abducted in Topeka, Kansas. And one thing I noticed during these scenes when Mamie's talking about Halloween and stuff, she just does not seem like normal Mamie from the other episodes. So I do feel like the aliens were possessing her again. And, Ike is just telling her like, I miss when you were normal and you're just doing too much and it's not okay. So as they're there that night, he hears screams coming from a vent in the White House, and he goes down an elevator and he ends up discovering secret tunnels under the White House. And he's just like, what the hell? He also notices a man being experimented on, and Valiant Thor, Val, I'm just going to call him Val, ends up coming down. And, he's like, when did you build these? And he's like, Val's like, oh, these have been here, for years. Like they built it for, the nuclear bomb threats. And he's like, you need to really focus on what your military is doing with that budget, which is hilarious because he's the president. He didn't even know that these tunnels and things were under the White House the whole time that he has been president, which says a lot. So after that, Val pretty much breaks down the knowledge of everything that's going on. And he basically tells him, if you go against what my people, what my creators say, they're just going to forcibly take what they want from the American people, be it abductions or whatever. The Russians don't have the kind of technology that America has. They're way behind. That was just a threat. They're not going to go to the Russians. They're just going to forcibly do what they want. So it's better if you comply. And, Eisenhower's just like, ugh. And Val ends up taking him through the tunnels and he sees the little alien hybrid babies. He also sees the little girl Caroline on the experiment table. And, he's just obviously triggered by that. So, he goes back to Mamie. We go back to the scene talking to Mamie. And Mamie is basically ignoring him. And she's just like, human experiments, like I understand. Oh, and she was like, you're starting to understand them. And that just confirmed to me even more that the alien is still possessing Mamie. Like it's something off about her. She's not normal. Of course, we don't have the alien voice, but she's just not being herself at all. And they talk about Val and she's like, oh, I met Val and he told me to call him Val. And he said, he can't wait to try my fudge, wink, wink. And I was just like, is this innuendo? This is given innuendo. And it was kind of weird. But she talks about Nevada and she tells him like, oh, you need to go experiment in that place in Nevada, which in present day is what we know as Area 51. And we go to the next scene of Ike and Val and the men basically coming up with the plan to create Area 51 for experimentation. And he basically says no one outside of this room will ever know about Area 51, which real life present day, we know all about Area 51 and have for several decades, something we all know about. So after that, they focused on the Caesar bust again. Like I said, obviously hinting at betrayal. There was a reason. There was also Lincoln, the assassination, which I'm assuming that assassination is, kind of telling us, in my head, it's like Nixon is going to betray Kennedy. That's why Kennedy got assassinated in the last episode. That's pretty much what it's kind of given for me, but we don't know for sure completely yet. So Ike is sitting there again. He hears moaning through the vents, which they said they were going to fix the vents, what Val said. And he goes in there to find Mamie on top of Val, getting down. And he's just like, oh my God, passes out. And he wakes up. And Mamie's like, no, you didn't dream it. It was great. He's not a human, so it's not cheating. I dedicated my body to science. And he's just like, I don't even know who the hell you are anymore. Like, at least when you were possessed, I knew. And she's just like, ha, 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 whatever. I thought it was gross. She's like, he loved my fudge. And I'm just like, can we stop with the fudge? Can we stop? So the next scene is with Marilyn Monroe. And it is a American Horror Story take on the iconic pool scenes from the movie Something's Gotta Give, which Marilyn ended up being fired from that movie IRL because of her, problems she was dealing with at the time. But she's in the pool and she's like, Eisenhower did it. The aliens, the abductions and all this kind of stuff. And we cut to another scene 5 years later of Eisenhower and Nixon and them watching it. And Eisenhower's like, how did you get this? Like, and Nixon's like, oh, Hoover, he won't tell me, but there's more where that came from. And basically, if you know anything about J. Edgar Hoover and his drama, that is a messy man in history. Like, he very messy. The things that he did and the things he did for information in the FBI, just ooh. But anyway, Nixon says that he has a focus on all the celebrities who he thought were communists, which is actually a fact. He was spying on a lot of celebs like Marilyn Monroe and quite a few others who he thought were connected to communism or were communist sympathizers. And he had all kinds of dirt and tea on them just in case they betrayed America. And, Eisenhower is just like, who's gonna believe her anyway? Like, she's just an alcoholic and an actress. Like, no one's gonna believe an alcoholic actress. Like, get over yourself. And Nixon is like, it just takes one reporter, one interviewer to hear her say that and start questioning, and then we have a problem on our hands. So Nixon kind of comes up with the idea that he wants to basically murder, not blackmail. He wants to murder Marilyn Monroe because, loose lips sink ships. And he's just like, we got to get her out of here. And Eisenhower's like, no, I'm not going to kill her. She's just an actress. She's just a drug addict. Like, she's not a threat. And Nixon's like, that's the thing. We can use the drugs. So we cut back to Marilyn. She's on the phone with her maid, and she's basically trying to get her maid, Evelyn, to call JFK. She's like, where's John, Jack, whatever she calls him. She's like, where is he? I need to talk to him. And, she's like, I can't connect to him or whatever. And she's panicking, freaking out. We start hearing the alien noises, and we see Marilyn kind of freaking out. We see an alien hand and face reach out to her. Next thing you know, the men in black grab her, force her to the bed. So they basically hold her down, force feed her pills, and that's how we get the story of Marilyn having a drug overdose, a barbiturates overdose that ended with her death. So the next day we have, or sometime after, I don't know if it's the exact next day, we have Nixon call up JFK as he's reading the newspaper about her death. And Nixon is like, oh, like condolences and blah, blah, blah. I hate doing his voice, but, he basically tells him, like, she was a very pretty woman. It's sad what happened to her, but you should pay attention to the pillow talk because no one else knew these things but you, and you need to stop telling the women you're sleeping with, trade secrets, because you could end up like that next. And, like, Kennedy's just like, whatever, like, chill, like, get out of here, whatever. And Nixon basically tells him to watch his back around crazy people. And we know, I don't know. I just kind of had a thought, like, watch your back, and then he got shot in the head, in a car. I don't know. But anyway, we know pretty much AHS is setting up the story that Nixon, I thought it was the aliens at first, but I'm pretty sure it was Nixon that, called the hit on Kennedy also, because he wanted his presidency. And that's another thing that Nixon told Eisenhower is like, keeping Kennedy in office and all these kind of things with the aliens, that's going to ruin my chance to become president. And he was just so down, to be president, that he was just willing to betray anyone and do whatever to get that position. So after that, we end up a year later, we see, after the death of JFK and everything, we end up seeing Lyndon B. Johnson, who became president after him, being brought to the White House or the base, I can't remember which one it is, to basically be told about, Valiant Thor and the aliens and everything. Because this is the presidential initiation. You got to learn about the aliens. And, Johnson is just like, I know what's going on. Like, what are you talking about? Like, there's no aliens. And then, Valiant Thor, he's like, I'm Valiant Thor, nice to meet you. And he's like, I'm Calamity Jane. And he's like, oh, you're funny. So basically they take him into the little room, and the collection of little hybrid alien babies has grown. And, he's just like, what the hell? I think his quote, and let me consult my notes, he says, what in the ever-loving Christ is this? As he sees the little babies. And yeah. So after that, we cut back to present day, and Troy's on the table about to get birth like we saw last week. And basically the aliens Troy and Theta are basically talking through their brains, like telepathically. I don't know. There's no words, like their mouths aren't moving. They're basically talking through thoughts. And Troy can't move. And, he can't feel anything. And they basically laser C-section and pull out a little baby. And I thought the little baby was so cute. It had the big old black eyes, and it was just a cute little baby. And, they said it was perfect. It had a strong heartbeat. It was healthy. but its physical abnormalities were too bad. And it looks like a normal little baby, like besides the big black alien eyes. And so they slit the baby's throat and like put it into like a little fish tank of water. And Troy's obviously freaking out and he could feel the pain, which is one thing I noted. He could feel the pain of the baby. So when they sliced the baby's jugular, Troy felt that too. And he starts panicking because he wanted his baby and he's like all sad, you know, like an actual mom, like an actual parent who gave birth to a child would be. And a week later, he returns to normal and he meets up with, you know, his friends, Cal, Jamie, and Kendall. And he basically explains the birth process and how everything happened. And they start planning their escape. And they're like, you know, we got to get out of here. So Calico comes over and she's like, you guys need to shut up. You're stupid. You're not escaping. I've been here since 1969 and I've had several babies. Like, get over it. Like, I have 2 or 3 a year. Mind you, she's been there since 69. So that's like over 50 years, I want to say. Yeah. So she's been there a long ass time and she just keeps having babies. And she's just like, after the first 3, like, you get over it. Like, you know, you just let it go. You just deal with it. You got to do what you got to do and call it a day. And she basically gives them backstory on her, how she was working at a brothel one day and, well, she worked at a brothel and she ended up seeing these 2 guys sitting at the bar in horrible disguises. And she ends up realizing that the 2 men are Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, who were the astronauts who, you know, were the first on the moon. And she was like, what are y'all doing here? Y'all were supposed to be in space. Like, y'all went to space 3 days ago. Like, what are y'all doing here? And, you know, they basically spill the tea. Like, after some drinks, they basically tell her that it was faked, that they, you know, recorded the line. I think it was like Neil's at first and then Buzz. I can't remember who, but, you know, he said like the 1 step for man, 1, you know, giant leap for mankind. And they basically revealed that Stanley Kubrick, if you know this conspiracy theory that Stanley Kubrick, you know, recorded the moon landing and that it's all fake, you know, they basically say that Nixon loved Kubrick, one of Kubrick's movies, and he was like, yeah, you got to do this. And, you know, he pretty much granted Kubrick like a lifelong contract to make any movie that he wanted after that. And Calico, you know, before that particular scene, Calico's, you know, sitting there after they spill the tea to her or whatever. Next time, you know, the men in black come in there, zap her neck and, you know, put her in the room. She's pregnant. She wakes up pregnant. She ends up going on to the stage and the moon landing stage, and, you know, she sees it. So that's where she took the, I don't want to call them kids. That's where she took the friends, the group of friends. And, you know, they're like, Kendall is so stupid. She's like, why are we on a moon landing stage? Why would they say that? And I'm just like, why? Like, she's so dumb. It's like, you're literally pregnant with an alien baby and you're still questioning things that are happening. Like, make it make sense. I don't understand. You're literally impregnated with a being and you saw cows literally sliced in half with no blood, but you just think everything is like, why would they do that? Like, she's so dumb. I hate it. I don't like Kindle at all, if you guys haven't figured it out. But anyway, you know, they end up talking about everything. And one thing I did leave out, I kind of skipped over this, was Troy and Cal. They were really sad about the death of Troy's baby because they had always thought they didn't want children, but eventually they kind of came to the conclusion that they did want children. So it hurt even more to have Troy's baby killed. And obviously Cal is still pregnant, so he doesn't want the same thing to happen to his baby. And it's at this point also that Calico pretty much reveals that they are stationed in Area 51. They are not in outer space. They are literally in Nevada in Area 51. So, and Calico loves all this because she basically went from being a nobody to being like, you know, top flight, like top shit here. So she's just like, you know, this is great. Like, I love it. Like, whatever. So that's where Calico has been this whole time. And, you know, she's never left after, the death of her first child. And so one thing, when Kendall was questioning why would they fake the moon landing, Calico basically explained that the moon landing was faked to pretty much ease Americans into the idea of using alien technology. So it's just like, okay, if we can make it to space, we can give you this technology. So you won't question where we get computers that fit into your hand. You won't question where we get microwaves. You won't question all these things if we tell you that we went to outer space, we did the unthinkable. So everything else just seems possible. Pretty much is her, you know, explanation of that. And she says, like, after, you know, that was revealed, she lost her first baby and she's never left Area 51 since then. So with Cal and Troy. Cal starts to feel like he's going into labor, and he's like, I don't want to do this alone. Like, I don't want them to take my baby. And, he's saying, like, she's so beautiful. Like, I just, whatever. So Troy's like, I can deliver the baby. So they go up to the moon set, and Troy performs the C-section, and the baby is perfect. It's got a tiny little head, big black eyes. And as Cal is pulling the rest of the baby out of his stomach, tentacles emerge and attach to his face, a la face hugger, and the episode ends. So I thought that was an okay episode. I don't really like the present day scenes. They're kind of boring to me, but it was interesting to see the baby be born. One question I do have is, I wonder exactly what do they mean by the perfect species? Like, what is the perfect example of the aliens? Because if you guys remember when Val and Eisenhower were in the tunnel, he basically, was saying like how they never showed Eisenhower what the babies looked like because he would be afraid if he saw the perfect type. So I'm like, I don't know if Val is one. Like, he did say his creators. I don't know if the perfect alien looks like Val, or does the perfect alien look like Theta? Because we know Theta has the half human, half alien face going, but Val looks like a complete human being. So I don't know, unless he's in a disguise. I don't know, but he also had like, mechanical stuff in his head. So I don't know. I do want to know what the ideal alien hybrid looks like. Are they passable as a human? Are they both? I don't know. Why is there so much fear around it? But what I did see in the preview for next week, which I'm going to do a separate recap of that, is Val basically tells them that the perfect hybrid is expected to be born in 2021, which is present day. So obviously it's probably going to be one of our kids having the baby. I think it's going to be Kendall, because Kendall's kind of set up as the main character. I feel like it's going to be her, but I guess we will just have to wait until the finale to see where things are going. So let me know what you guys thought about this episode in the comments down below. How do you feel about everything that's happened with Val coming in, with Mamie? Do you think Mamie's actually possessed? What do you think the perfect species looks like? Do you think we're going to be completely shocked, or I don't know? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you again for watching. I will have my trailer breakdown uploaded sometime this week. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you again for watching, and I love you guys. Bye.